So yeah, I recognize a few of you. So some of this story might be really repetitive for those of you that have seen me for a while, but so I'm Abi Hugo. I'm basically, I started my Instagram account about 4 years ago now. And when I was on maternity leave with my little boy Henry, and basically I worked in HR in corporate and I didn't want to go back into the city. I'd really struggled to have Henry and kind of was quite detached from the pregnancy. And I was like, yes, I'm definitely going back. I'll work in HR, so they'll look after me. I can have like part-time job. And then when I actually like had him, I was like, no, I don't want to go back to work. So I was like, let's come up with an idea of what I can do. So Ian and I went to Bristol. We used to live in Bristol, and basically went into a shop and Henry started crying. So I just grabbed a business card, and on the trip back, I looked at their website and they said that they did wholesale, and it just like sparked this thing. I was like, I could just sell home decor products online through Instagram. That would be fine. That will work. So I set up my account like a few weeks later, and yeah, basically did that, bought some products. I also I started making like bath boards and shelves, and I sold those. And it was great. Like I did enjoy it. It was hard work because with a newborn, like packaging up orders and stuff like that, it's quite a lot of effort. But when I hit about 5,000 followers after 6 months, a brand reached out to me and they were like, how much do you charge for a post? And I was like, what? This happens? This is a thing? Like, I've got no, this is Kim Kardashian stuff. Like, that doesn't happen to people with small accounts. So anyway, yeah, basically I was like, okay, yeah, let's go for it. I charged them £50 and I was like, this is brilliant. This is easy money. And basically I realized that actually it was completely possible for really small accounts to get paid for their content, because it's a lot cheaper to have access to an audience and pay for that content, which looks like user generated content. So to them, when they use that content on their site, it just looks like a customer has posted a photo and it looks a lot more authentic. So I realized that actually small accounts have this really unique place called micro influencers in the market. And so my account started growing, I started working with more brands. And then so I started scaling back the shop, because I realized that actually the part I really, really enjoyed was being creative, being able to take photos, styling a room. So I hit about 10,000 followers after a year, and kind of my growth was really steady. So I basically, after 2 years, I was at 20K, and then 3 years I was at 30. And then I moved, then it was lockdown. And I went through a very awkward stage in lockdown of being like a mummy blogger, which is not my style, but I kind of didn't have anything else to talk about. I had a newborn baby in lockdown. No one was leaving the house. So my niche is obviously now DIY and interiors, but we moved house at the end of lockdown. And that's where my account kind of took off. Reels had come into play. And I was really, really quick to dive on Reels. So in between all of this, I'm kind of like split between two hats. I also teach small businesses, or back then taught small businesses how to use Instagram. And I'd always said to people, whenever Instagram brings something new out, jump on it. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how awkward you feel doing it, just do it, because Instagram will prioritize you as an early adopter and they will show your content to more people. So I was one of the first people doing Reels. They were super awkward, really cheesy. I mean, they're still there. Like, you can go scroll back and look at how atrocious they are, but I was finding my feet. I just got myself out there, and I had a few really viral Reels at the time, and my account started to grow. But then when we moved, I think I even said it to Hero. I was like, when I move, I know my account will take off, because I knew that I could get into my own. I knew I could do DIY, which is the thing I wanted to do. I could show the process of a renovation, which is what I'm really passionate about. And it did. So we moved, and basically a month after living here, I renovated our kitchen, and that blew up. Actually, that's what got me to my 30K in 3 years. I was stuck at 25,000 followers, and I got 5,000 followers pretty much overnight because of this reel that blew up. And then subsequently things are just like, then sort of like a month later, another reel went viral and I got 20,000 followers overnight. And then it just kept going crazy. And basically about 2 months ago, I hit 100,000 followers, and then I'm now like just over that. And that's just been amazing, because that's just Instagram growth, which to you guys might sound, but that's one part of it. I've had to take my business along with it as such. So that involved me learning how to reach out to brands, and what I want to kind of give you guys, because it might seem really like disjointed, like, okay, well, you're an influencer, I hate the word, but my kind of go-to tagline, I say this all the time, is that businesses need to act more like influencers, and influencers need to act more like businesses. And the reason I say that is because influencers are really good at growing an audience. They talk to their people like friends. The people that follow them feel like they're friends. They feel like they know that person's life, and then they buy from them because they trust them. Whereas businesses tend to sell or talk about their products in a very, very different way, a very like businessy way. Whereas if you start acting more like an influencer, you'll grow your audience and then you'll be able to sell from that. So whilst I promote other brands' products, I also sell my own products and services through my account. So it's just become, if you've got an audience, everything else becomes so much easier, because there's loads of statistics and metrics that say if you've got this audience, then you know your conversion net rates to sell and things like that. So it's just all really becomes easy once you've got access to an audience. So growth is amazing. And I like, if anything, it's just being visible. So putting yourself out there. Like, I don't know how comfortable all of you guys feel like being on stories or doing reels and stuff. Like, I know Esme's amazing at like reels and stuff like that. She's like my favorite person to watch. But if it's not something you're comfortable with, and I know it can feel really, because it was me like a few years ago, even tonight I'm like, ooh, I can talk to like 100,000 people, but to a room of this, it's quite nerve-wracking. But if you don't do it, you'll never be visible. And visibility is what comes with growth. Like, that's what leads to growth, honestly. It's the more, so when I first started my account, I didn't put my face, I didn't even have my name on my account. I didn't have my face as a profile picture, nothing. I was very, very like blank. I didn't put my face on stories, none of it. But I did see a dramatic increase in my engagement and things like that when I started talking on stories, and when I started just being me rather than being faceless, being a business, because I was a business. So I was trying to, you know, put my products first. But those products, technically, they could buy from anyone. The reason they want to buy from me is because it was me. So when I started actually putting my personality and the reason why I did this stuff, people started to care about me as a person. And so there's kind of like this thing I teach my students. It's like, if you put up 4 stories, and those 4 stories could be anyone could put up the exact same. Okay, so if I'm talking about my products here, if I'm selling this water bottle, that could be really unrelated to you. How do I word this? Yeah, so like, if I'm selling that and you don't want that, you're going to skip by that story, and then you might not look at that account again. However, if you're not interested in that, but you still care about me, you might skip to the next story, because whilst you don't care about that, you care about me and you're happy to stick around. So then the next few stories might be relevant to you. But if they don't care about you, they'll just skip that story and they might not come back. So you've got to make them care about you, especially on social media. It's the reason why Instagram is putting so much money into influencers. They now have an influencer program. They are paying influencers and to get them to stick around, because they know that and let me just like, anyone can be an influencer. If you have 1 follower, you can be an influencer, because I could talk to you about this mascara that I've just bought and you go and buy it. I'm not doing that on social media. I'm doing it because I'm talking to you. And I have people that I've taught that have 500 followers that have paid brand deals, because this is the way they create their content. So it's not about being an influencer. It's just about being a content creator, and you create content that's enjoyable for someone else. And regardless of what you do in your business, that needs to be your primary focus. If you can create content that keeps people sticking around, that will be everything for you, because then you can sell your services, you can sell other people's services, you can be an affiliate, you can, you know, sell brand stuff. It all just becomes really, really like, easy, honestly. Yeah, I think that's like my story in a nutshell, with a few tidbits in there. I don't know how many of you do know, like, I know Hero and Esme have heard that loads of times, but yeah, it's really fun if you can take sort of the scariness away from it. So I did when I first started doing it, I set myself a challenge. So how many people do you feel comfortable doing stories and reels? Oh, most of you. Oh, okay, fine. So I won't go into that, but I was basically going to say that if you don't set yourself a challenge to start for 15 seconds a day, that's 1 story, and then you can build from there. That was like what I had to do. And when I say stories, that's putting yourself on stories, right? That's not just like putting a picture of a product up. That's all you showing your faces regularly on a daily basis. Cool. But yeah, so that would probably be my biggest tip for growth. Trying to get yourself out there. PR is great. That's been another really big thing that's helped me gain wider visibility. You don't need a PR agency. There are plenty of free places to get PR. So I used Twitter when I was a lot smaller. And you search up like PR, journo request, PR request. And anytime there was something remotely relevant to interiors or social media, I would put myself forward. There's also groups out there. Light Bulb is called one of them. It's like £5 a month, and you can get loads of journalists and you can pitch yourself in there. I've been featured in loads and loads of places now, and I know that it's having a knock-on effect because of the inquiries I'm now getting from brands and other sources is now coming from the media as well as my account. It's also coming from TikTok, which is really interesting. People are like, I've seen your TikTok video. All I'm doing there is repurposing. So I'm getting visibility on, because I'm doing Facebook Reels as well, but all I'm doing is concentrating on Instagram, and then I just repost on those 2 places, and people are finding me on those places and coming to me and saying, we've got this opportunity for you. So whilst you can have one primary platform that you focus on, repurposing content is so important, because you never know who's watching where. And I'll always just redirect people back to the main platform that I want them to find me on, that I'm most active on. So yeah, that's me.
Does anyone have any questions for Abi?
I can talk more, I just don't know how much.
I feel like there's I've got loads of things coming to me, but go on, I want to hear if anyone's got any questions.
I prefer doing Q&As rather than talking at people. However, if you want specific things, I can talk about specific things.
I know I hear you talk all the time, and I keep learning because you keep surprising me with your advice. Just one question I want to. Somebody said to me, hashtags are dead, or they don't work as much. Do they still work? Should we still be using 30 hashtags?
You don't have to use 30. So luckily, yes, the advice on hashtags has changed. If you'd asked me a year and a half ago, I'd have been like, yes, we need to use 30. We need to be very strategic about them, blah, blah, blah. I had even had a whole ebook about them. Luckily, because, well, it depends. If you're still doing static images, yes, the whole previous kind of strategy still kind of applies. However, you can be a bit more general with your hashtags because of 2 things. So Reels, which we'll talk about in a second, but static posts, even the text that you're writing now. So Instagram has implemented keywords. So it means that it can categorize your content based on what you're writing, and it can actually like visually assess what your image is. So if you've got an iPhone, I don't know if it works for Android, I'm really sorry. But if you've got an iPhone and you went into your images and you search for, I'm going to say wine because I've got loads, or a barbecue, your iPhone will categorize, it will bring up all the images that's got that related. So it's really smart, and it can analyze your photos, and Instagram can do the same, obviously, and probably on a far more techie level. So the text that you've got, the caption, your actual image, and then hashtags is all how Instagram categorizes. So if you just typed into the search bar of Instagram, like hashtag photography, the first thing that would come up is what Instagram suggests for that word rather than the hashtags. And then you can click over to hashtags. So yes, they're important because people still obviously use hashtags to search for things, but then less important, one, because of keywords and everything. And then the second reason they're less important is because Reels have their own feed. So they literally on the bottom of Instagram, you'll see there's a Reels tab. If you go into the Explore page, there's a Reel. Well done. Okay, go back up. He's playing with Lego. He's built something. Yeah, so there's a Reels, there's an Explore on the Explore page, there's Reels, and then there's a few photos, and then there's more Reels. And even if you go into a hashtag, there's an entire Reels category. So if you can tell, Instagram likes Reels. And because there are, well, this is where it's getting a bit like grey, but because there's technically less Reels than there are photos, you can use bigger hashtags because, say, for example, you put up a photo and you use a hashtag that has been used 1 million times, you're very likely, unless you've got a huge following, to be seen, because your content will disappear so quickly and it won't get enough engagement to ever be seen. But Reels, because there's less of them, if you used hashtag photographer, because there's less people using Reels at the moment, because people, and no matter how many people you think are using them, compared to the majority of the Instagram users, there's still not that many people using them. You're more likely to be seen in that hashtag. So you can use less and you can use bigger hashtags. So no, they're not dead. Instagram said technically that 7 slightly bigger hashtags is what you should be doing. But I will say, like, I'm not going to argue with Instagram, but it will be what works for your account. So if you find using more works, if you find using less works, you'll have to study your own analytics.
Okay. And one other question on Reels. There's a little arrow next
That's
to the music.
trending. That means
Trending.
trending. That
And
means
so
use that all.
if it's going up, it's trending, and if it's going to the side, it's static.
Go to the side.
I saw one that was just pointing right or pointing up.
There should be one that kind of goes like this. It's like but basically it means it's trending, but you still want to click into that reel, because so if you click on that little trending thing or the sound, it will take you to the reel feed for that sound. And what you want to look at is how many times, it's a bit like a hashtag, how many times that sound has been used, because you don't want to use a trending sound that's on its way out. So if a trending sound has like over 1 million things, you've kind of missed the trend. You kind of want to get it when it's starting to trend. So like it's had like 1,000 or 5,000 posts to it, because what you're doing is you're catching it at the beginning of its trend, and it's only going to go up. But at some point it peters off.
These little golden nuggets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is a trending sound? Is that the thing you're doing it to? Am I missing the point?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it could be you talking. And in fact, if it is you talking, what you can do is you can still put a trending audio on it, but you just pull the audio all the way down so it can't be heard, but then you still categorize in that reel or sound.
Wow.
So there's sounds and so there's like sounds and music, and sounds are like things like what Esme does, where it's her own audio, and then sound music is obviously background music. And if you're doing kind of, so what Esme does, she could technically get some more reach by putting a trending sound on it, and pulling that all the way down. However, that would then mean that other people can't use her audio. So it's like, because she could get someone to lip sync to her audio. So there's pros and cons of both. Sorry if that's like.
No. It's all, I can see my kids have come downstairs. I'm like, I got distracted.
Vicky, I felt like you and I had the same face there. We were just like, I feel like I've stepped into a German class where I've never done German. I'm like, oh my God.
Don't ask me questions.
Scary.
I'll happily simplify it, and I can even plug my phone in if you need me to like
It's only because I'm old and haven't done reels yet, because I keep going there too. I don't know what to do, and I'll just do that another day. So
I haven't done reels either. I've been meaning to for about 2 years, and I just never get to the point of doing. I tried about 3 times and it kept going wrong, and then I never got back to it. So yeah, I'm ignorant too.
If it helps, I'm not massive on reels, but once you get your head around it, you just got to do a couple. And if you think about it like a slideshow is the best way I describe it, you're just putting it all together. So it is a practice, and you can save a draft of it. It doesn't have to go live. Just even if you stick 10 photos together as a start, it's like a PowerPoint presentation. It's the way I kind of look at it.
I make things in InShot and then upload it as a reel, because I can't work out how to do the reels.
I still don't do the reels in Instagram. I do it on another app, similar to InShot. It's called Video Shop, because it's just it's far easier. But yeah, don't get overwhelmed by it. But if you could have a viral reel, you don't know when your reels go viral. Your first one could go viral and you could end up with 20,000 followers the next day. So if that's not enough to like go, okay, maybe I should just do one. I don't know what it is.
That's definitely an incentive. I've recorded some video footage to put stuff together. I just haven't put it together. Okay, that's a good incentive.
Abby, I love your reel, like, I don't know if it's reels or stories, a bit of both, where you do it really quickly, like you're showing a process of maybe something. Time lapse, that's the word I was looking for. Do you do it on your phone, or do you do it on a proper camera?
I do everything on my phone.
You still do it on your phone?
Absolutely everything. Even the branded content, everything.
Love it.
How do you have enough memory? As in, like, you sometimes seem to record for like a really long time. Does it not take up? Do you have to just delete it?
No, I just used. There's a thing on, I think on Android it's called hyperlapse. On mine it's called time lapse. So I literally just record it in time lapse. So even if I'm recording for an hour, it's only 30 seconds of video on my phone.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Time lapse.
Yes. So sometimes sometimes, okay, say if it was an hour, it might be more like a minute of footage. So then I would go into an app like InShot, like Video Shop for me, and I can speed it up even faster so that it's 30 seconds, because me putting a minute of me sanding on my stories is really boring. Like, no matter how much you're hooked on DIY, a minute of sanding is boring. So I'd want even that time lapse to be even shorter. So if you're doing too much of anything repetitively, so even talking on stories for longer than a minute, you'll find that your views start dropping off. So it's about keeping like things really snappy and constantly changing the angle. So if you think about like when you're watching a movie, you don't sit and watch the same shot angle. You might be watching like a monologue, but then they go here and then they go there, and it's about keeping it visually appealing as well. So
sorry, Abby, is that a different app, time lapse? Not because I've got an iPhone and I just use a time lapse on there.
yeah, that's what I use.
Oh, that one. Okay.
But you can speed it up even faster in another app, is what I'm saying, if
Thank
you want it to go even faster.
So I put quite a lot of reels up, but I tend to do them, I repurpose them from TikTok. So I do the TikTok video and then do it that way.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm not benefiting from any of the trending audios, because if you upload them from TikTok, it uploads it as original audio.
Yeah, so what you want to try and do, there is an app called Save My TikTok, I think, which means you can remove the TikTok logo, because Instagram will never ever like you for that. Same vice versa.
Yeah.
And then I would turn the audio all the way down and then search for that audio on Instagram.
Got ya. Okay.
So it can be really difficult. Are you doing lip syncs or are you just doing music?
A lot of them are lip syncs because I like how stupid you can be with them, if I'm honest.
So it might be a bit harder for you, and it becomes like a bit of a sleuthing exercise, but you have to find who did the original sound on TikTok and then try and find them on Instagram and then find their audio on Instagram, because it will normally be there. But it's a very like detective profile.
Maybe it's just better to do some reels that I repurpose to TikTok and some TikToks
It's
that
not that hard. I promise I've made that sound more complicated, but like once you've done it once, it's really easy.
I think I just need to play around with it and just figure it out.
Have you got more of a following on TikTok?
I get more views on TikTok on content.
TikTok. It's this very similar process, like it's very similar concept, but if you feel more comfortable, and you should always just prioritize the platform you feel A, more comfortable on, and B, like that you're getting more views on, because you'll feel more comfortable, again, even more comfortable. So if TikTok's your place, just be happy there, and then try.
I think I feel more comfortable with TikTok, but I'm not sure. All of like most of my like business so far has come through Instagram or like word of mouth.
Yeah,
because you're young and cool, Bethan. You're much younger and cooler than the rest of us.
Oh, no, I feel old, and I promise you I'm extremely uncool.
I think I can't stand, and Facebook's even worse, but there's comments on TikTok. People can be really vicious.
I'm really sorry, someone's knocking at my front door.
just on that, because I'm just on Instagram, I'm not anywhere else, and I've heard that about TikTok, and I kind of feel like I quite like just having my business on Instagram, and I'm not sure if I like the idea of just putting stuff on TikTok and Facebook so people can see. But I've seen on Instagram you can now post your reels, can't you, onto Facebook?
Yeah,
without like having to have a brand on there.
But you won't. So what will happen there is you will go to, it will be shared to Facebook, but people will say, I don't know how much you've scrolled on Facebook Reels, but what will happen is it will say, if you go to click on the comments, it's really annoying. If you go to click on the comments, it will say this was posted from Instagram. So you have to click to go back over to Instagram.
Yeah.
Whereas if people are if people are more natively comfortable on Facebook, that's going to be really off-putting to them. Yeah. So posting on Facebook, they can then open the comments and just comment away. It is really like, I get some really, I find them funny now. I can only laugh at them because some of them are really nasty. But I'm decorating a house. I mean, how, for myself, I'm not going out and being like a cowboy trader or anything. So why be so miserable? But I think you've got to like detach the personal from it. And it's more about them than it is about you. Like if they've got the time. In fact, I now just go back and say thank you. And the people are just like, why are you thanking me? I said it was awful. And I was like, well, thank you for wasting your time on commenting on my content. It's helped to boost it. And they're just like, oh, okay. So just have fun with it.
Love that.
I have to ask, but before I do, thank you so much for all the information. I do feel like my head's going to explode in a really good way. But something that really caught my attention was that you taught, whether you still do teach about Instagram, because that's something I'd be very keen to consider doing with you if you still do it.
Yes, I kind of do it in a few ways, because I don't teach businesses as such anymore. I actually now more teach influencers how to work with brands. However said, both things work. Like I've got a course called #influencer, and 4 of the modules are pretty much exactly the same as I would teach a business, and it's just the last one that's about pitching to brands, which I've had businesses in that successfully pitched to brands as well. So it literally is the same thing. Everything I teach is the same. So I have something that used to be a membership that I've now turned into, it's called The Vault. So it's Teach Me Instagram, The Vault. And it's like you pay one fee up front and you get access to all the trainings that I've ever done in there. And then I do one-on-one, and then I've got my course, which is probably worth a chat if you're a business, and we can see if that would work for you. But yeah, if you want to have a chat after, I'm completely happy to.
Thank you. That would be amazing. I just need, I don't know why, I just can't get my head around everything with Instagram.
What do you do? Sorry.
Sorry, I should have said. So I'm actually an ambassador for Tropic Skincare. So it's not about me connecting with other brands, but just, I mean, I have a private Facebook group, and I do the stories, you know, where they come up on Facebook. I do have an Instagram account, but I'm a little bit rubbish at kind of keeping it going, I think. But we have an excellent tool with Tropic that it's called Tropic Social, where we can schedule posts for both Facebook and Instagram, and we can plant it in both places. But even then, even with that amazing tool, I still just don't seem to manage it, and I just can't get my head around, especially the real thing. But yeah,
I need to think. There's an amazing. She's not Tropic. I can't think for the life of me what she does. It's like perfume with the numbers on it. But her name's Lainey, Lanni. Lainey Loves, and she's like a MLM for that. But what she does, really, she's an influencer. The way she treats that business is she's talking about her lifestyle. So where like she's like, getting my makeup on, I'm using this product, and then I'm putting this perfume on, it's this one, I absolutely love it, I love wearing this on Fridays. She takes like people through her days, and then she's doing cleaning, and she's just cleaning, and then she's talking about like how she's packing up her orders, and it's just so fascinating to watch, because she's not trying to sell anything, she's selling everything. And because people are seeing her pack up these beautiful orders, they're like, well, I want that. And that's the best example I have of like those companies and an influencer doing it really well. And then what she does is she drives, so where she's got a private page then that's got like 7,000 followers, because that's where she does more of the selling kind of stuff on that side. But what she's doing is using her main page as an audience attraction. So she's growing her audience and then funneling them into a place where she can sell to those people, and they're not going to be upset about being sold to because they've chosen to be in that space. That could be Facebook for you. But what I'm trying to say is if you kind of share with people why you love those products and why you use them, and literally just show how you're using them, that's far more interesting than being said like this sale is on right now. Well, Jen and Linda and Lena, and I don't know who else sees me on Facebook and Instagram, and I really try to keep it real, to just real life, like I shared a post today, I couldn't find my Tropic headband to do my mask, so I put my daughter's pink fluffy thing on. I was like, you know, this is mum life, you know, still going for it, you know, and just silly fun things really. But
I think you do it really well, Natalie. Everything that Abby just said, I think you do. So maybe you need to do what you're doing, but outside of the private Facebook group, because only if you know you've only got a limited audience. And actually, although like I am someone who doesn't comment very often, I see it all, and you are influencing me all the time, genuinely. So think about, like, I've bought quite a few products I would never have thought to buy, like colored lip balm, and like the foot pebble thing for my son, and all sorts of stuff that I wouldn't have bought unless I'd seen you put them on there. So I think you're doing it. You just need to open it up.
You just do exactly the same thing, but on Instagram.
Yeah, I need to be more organized, I think. Maybe that would help. Thank you.
Just repurpose it.
You
like
just need
Abby
more time.
said. You're doing it already. So just, you don't need to do it twice, do you? If you videoed it, you could just
download it from Facebook and upload it to stories. There's an app.
Yeah, why do I not? That sounds so simple. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? Oh dear. Thank you.
But that means that you've probably got loads in that Facebook group. So yeah, there's a plugin that you just put into your computer, and it will let you download all the videos from a private group, and then that would probably give you weeks of content.
Yeah, and I'll just sit back.
But yeah, I hope that helps. Any more?
I was gonna say, any more questions? Anyone got anything?
I've got a question.
Go on, Esme.
Hi Abby, big fan over here. Hi. What apps do you recommend if somebody is looking for somebody to work with? Like I know you'd mentioned Tribe before.
So Tribe, Vamp, V-A-M-P. I have to look at my phone now. Takumi, T-A-K-U-M-I. Whalar is very rare, but you could try that one. So that's W-H-A-L-A-R. And then other than that, it's actually just emailing people, Esme, and saying, hey, do you fancy working with me? She's not looking at the screen. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was writing it down on my phone, but I was listening.
So no, but I'm just basically, because I know how amazing your content is. So like, big fan, returned. But like, you could start pitching to brands.
Your leggings reel video was just bomb.
But that's
well, I have to say,
you don't need to wait. So what happens with these apps is that you have to they come onto the app. You're waiting for them to come onto the app. If there's brands that you want to work with, like you just send them a DM and say, hey, have you got an email address that I can send and to talk about potential collaboration? And then you send them like a little email that introduces yourself and say, I've got a couple of ideas. Let me know if you'd be interested in the collaboration. So that way you get to choose the brands you want to work with and it'll feel more authentic. And are you going to do that?
No.
I knew you would. Why not?
The truth is, right, I make those reels purely because I just love creating a comedy reel. It's never been an intention to work with people, but hearing you say like, look, someone with 5,000 followers can actually make a bit of money, I'm like, why shouldn't I? Why don't I just try
someone
it?
with someone I know that has done my course that has 500 followers got paid. And then someone else that's done my course, so she had 450 followers when she got paid, and then someone else that's got around 500 has just been sent £2,000 worth of tools. So while she's not been paid, that's £2,000 that she didn't have to spend on her own stuff.
Yeah.
So
I also appreciate that I don't put much effort into my videos. Like I know that I could use a light and I know that I could use a better angle, but I'm very sloppy with it. And I know that some companies are like, yeah.
No, but then that's no, you're finding reasons not to now, because there's loads of content creators that are very much like you, and that's why people want to. So there's a reason brands want to work with like accounts like yours, is because it's far more like
real life.
It's real life. It's what, so brands will know instantly who they want to work with, but there are lots of accounts that do that kind of like slapdash kind of comedy that's very like real life. And they're working with loads of brands because the brands have a campaign and they have like a strategy, and they'll probably have, okay, so we've got 10% of the budget allocated for this kind of content, 10% allocated for this kind of content. So if you think about HelloFresh, they would probably go, okay, we want some really beautiful home people to like slice it all really stunningly, and then we want some like accounts to just go like, oh, bish bash bosh, like here I am.
The reality of it. Yeah, it's true,
because different things influence different people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Abby, on that subject, can you walk us through like an example of where you've reached out to a brand, or one of your clients has reached out to a brand and it's come back and it's kind of happened? Just because that would be really interesting to know.
So I can use, I'm sure she won't mind, but my friend Jade, Dainty London Jewelry, she recently reached out to Stackers, because she obviously does jewelry, and she reached out to Stackers as a jewelry box company, and she pitched them, and they're in process of collaborating, but she's been sent the jewelry box. It's like the biggest, most expensive jewelry box they do, and she's now going to create content for them. For me, I reach out to 80% of the brands that I want to work with. So if it's like, if I look around and I think, well, I'm going to be creating content that's going to inspire, well, over 100,000 people, then how can I make that? So for example, right now I'm about to do I'm doing Ian's office. So I'm going to pitch to a flooring company to say, well, I will do a DIY showing people how to install your flooring. That's my concept. That's my idea. Let me know if you'd want to work together. But
nice.
Yeah, it's just about thinking about like things in your daily life. Like if you I don't know, another, so if I was just thinking like more lifestyle, if I have, and I have a mocha every single morning, like I use Galaxy hot chocolate, a teaspoon of Galaxy hot chocolate in my coffee, and that is what I have every morning. So I could go and literally pitch to Galaxy and be like, hey, like fancy a collaboration, because that's something I use and I do every day. It could be, you know, if you're a health and fitness coach, NutriBullet or protein powders, they're things that work within the business that you're currently doing. If you're a business coach, it could be things like Trello or Asana or Canva. So every single business has someone they could pitch to and work with.
That makes sense. I was thinking business coach, is there anything that
there's loads.
Not boring, but like it's quite
no, but then it's half of the stuff that you use. So anything that you could be an affiliate for, so your email marketing provider, or then / the lifestyle stuff that you do. So if you do, you know, HelloFresh or something like that.
Yeah,
I'll have a look in a minute.
Love that. That's really helpful. Thank you.
In a minute, Liffy. I'll come for Liverpool. In 1 minute. Why don't you go listen to another book? Sorry. Or you can come sit with me.
Please don't apologise. You can come and sit.
You want to come sit with me?
You can have some.
Okay, you sit there. You have to be quiet. Promise. Thank you.
We've got some questions coming up on the chat actually, so let's have a look.
If I can just add, I think Abby, you said this once somewhere before. I think brands want to work with smaller companies because it's a cheaper investment compared to paying for an ad on TV.
Yes.
You know, it's actually the new marketing way forward, isn't it? They actually want people to reach out to them.
Well, people spend, there's like a statistic that says the amount of time we spend on our phones compared to watching TV now. And even when we're watching TV, we're watching something like Netflix or, you know, Now TV, which doesn't have adverts. So the way that their brands are shifting their money towards influencer marketing, and that micro influencers have better engagement, better reach than bigger accounts. Literally, the bigger you get, the lower your engagement gets. So there's at some point there's like this equilibrium where maybe an account with 10,000 followers and an account with like 70,000 followers actually reaches the same kind of amount of people. But I don't know where the tipping point is, but it will be somewhere where actually, and it's cheaper than potentially free, depending on, like, I don't think anyone should ever work for free, and like regardless of how small your following is, because you're still working to create the content. It doesn't matter how many people you have following you. But so it's cheaper. So for that, say they had a budget of like £10,000 to go hire a photographer, a videographer, a model, a makeup artist, a hairdresser, a lighting prop. Okay. It's probably cost far more than £10,000, but that's their budget. Whereas they could go and reach however many people on a regular basis with influencers. And micro influencers is a really huge. So I work with an agency now who helped me they take the admin side of my brand collaborations off me. And they are looking at investing in far more micro influencers for that exact reason, because brands want them, so they need to have a portfolio of them.
So just a quick question on that. How do you create longevity with that thing? So say it was Galaxy hot chocolate. Yeah, you can create a great reel, but is it a matter of doing that regularly and talking about it regularly, and you have a kind of an agreement and a contract on that basis?
Yeah, so for example, like I have 2 long-term brand clients who I have to produce monthly content, and it's up to me how I want to create that. But for Galaxy, for example, it could be like literally pay me however much a month, and every morning I will show myself making a hot chocolate every morning.
Pay me to eat Galaxy every day.
But once a month I will take a photo of me with my book and my hot chocolate, or I will do a reel of me, like you see those beautiful lifestyle things where they're like what they're called, I can't remember what they're called, but there's like a day in the life. So it's like little mini videos of someone's life, and that's part of an advertisement. So then you become a brand ambassador, and you have basically a contract with them that lasts for a year. A retainer, that's the word I was looking for.
Retainer. Sarah was just saying in the chat, I don't know what brands I could approach.
What does Sarah do?
Hi, sorry. So I run children's classes, and I'm just sitting here. I'm really sorry because my internet has cut out like multiple times as well. So I feel like I've heard bits and pieces, but I follow your content, Abby. I absolutely love it. And I just sort of, I'm sitting here thinking, how can this apply to me as a service based kind of like business?
So what kind of classes, who follows you? The mum, the parents?
Yeah.
So it would be what age range?
Under 5s.
Okay, so it could be things like, I'm guessing you use like props and things at your classes?
Yeah, so it's storytelling and drama classes. We have loads of different props that we use.
So brands like Disney and like honest, I know that's like huge, but brands like Disney, you've got parents of under 5s that you could be reaching. So you've just got to kind of have that shift of who is your audience and what do those people want to hear about. So fancy dress stuff or toys. You could do product reviews, like toys reviews. So if you were taking those products into the classes, like maybe it's like, I don't know. There's honestly, you need to, I did a talk at the conference last year, Blog On. It's called Blog On, and it's literally specifically aimed at Melissa and Doug. It's aimed at mummy bloggers, and they have this whole like fair of toys where these businesses want to get in front of people that have an audience of parents. So look at Blog On and go from there. It's on Instagram, but they would be perfect for you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'd really like to ask you about 2 things. One, I'm really interested in the kind of beginner steps, like you're talking about setting a challenge. So whenever I talk to anyone about Instagram or what I would put on it, in this fantasy land where I have like an extra 48 hours in my week just to, you know, do anything else apart from work. And all the ideas really flow really easily, but trying and fit that into my world is just mind-boggling. So I feel like I need these really tiny little things that I can do.
What do you do? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a breastfeeding specialist, so a service business. And the issue with that is that I can't advertise any brands. I'm completely and utterly prevented from doing that, and for lots of good reasons.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I still need to reach an audience of very new parents. Mainly, they're looking on Google. Frankly, that's
so they are. So
but they'll come from there to Instagram to look. And
the blogging would be really, really important for you because SEO is going to get you seen. However, for Instagram, once you've got your profile set up, I don't know how like advanced you've got in that, like as in have some images so that people know, have a really good bio, have a photo of you, because if people are buying that, they're going to want to know who you are. Like it's a really trusted thing. So your face on Instagram is really important. If you can't, obviously there's confidentiality if you probably can't show your clients. So it's got to be you. It's got to be like, and talking about it and giving advice and tips. And then partnering, like a really good thing, and it would work for all of you, but for you specifically, finding influencers that have just had babies. And they don't have to be huge. They could have 3,000, 5,000 followers, and just like saying like, can we go live together, and doing a live together and giving them advice. So like my friend, bless her, she's just had her third, who's 6 months old, and she's pregnant again. So like she's like going through it, and she's struggling with breastfeeding her one while being pregnant. So her name's Pages of Emma. Have a look at her content, but like she's the kind of person that I think you should be looking at to like start. So whilst you can't advertise, you can still collaborate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And aside from one 15-second story every day, what are your other kind of beginner get off the starter blocks tips?
So do that for a week and then kick it up to a minute a day.
That's harsh. Wow, you're hard. Okay.
but then you can kick it back down, because once you've done that, you know you've proven to yourself you can do it. So I don't do a minute a day, but I try and show my face on stories. But I had to prove to myself that I was able to do it and give myself that like disaffirming belief that actually it's possible. And like I wouldn't have done this 2 years, 3 years ago, but small baby steps prove I can do it, and then it's okay. And now I've spoken on stages, and like, so it's just it's baby steps, building on those confidence pieces. And then it's like maybe just repurposing one of your stories and putting that as a reel, and then you can prove to yourself, well, I can do reels, because it's just a quick repurposing. Like most of what I do is filming myself doing the doing. So while that might not apply to you, Kerry, but you could show yourself doing admin or like packing up stuff to go to a client, so showing people what you're taking for those consultations and stuff like that. But if you can film yourself doing your work, that's a lot of that builds trust in what you're doing, because people literally watch you do it. So for me, obviously they're watching me do DIY, and I don't really, other than that, like you say, it's a lot of time lapses. So I'm not doing anything additional to create my content other than doing the work I'm doing, which is for me focusing on renovating my house or upcycling furniture to sell.
Your content is always beautiful though, Abi, like you present it really well. Does that make sense? And that you're very good at making it look like obviously your products are beautiful, but you also present beautifully, which I think is important.
Like I think obviously there is an element of like, I think I've got a bit of an eye because I'm passionate about it, but then it's obviously I also like observe how others, like, so people that are far more professional than I in other industries, for example. So I might watch like a fashion blogger or a food photographer and watch how they create content, and then I apply that to mine. So it's like I think I said it earlier with the HelloFresh, like food photographers, like they do these really close up things and they like chop up the vegetables and it makes you like come in. So I'm like, okay, I might try that on mine. I might like film my furniture and do it really close up and then come back. I just trying to pick up photography like tip. If you can do anything like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they are all, well, they were photo, but like they're all video, it's all content. So if there's anything you can do in your business, it's improve your content, because that content can be taken and then shared. So this has happened to me, like it's been shared in the Sun and the Mirror without my knowledge, which is not great, but it's happened. And if your content's not great, that's not going to happen. So it's giving you exposure by just doing the same thing. So if you can try and focus even like 10 minutes a day to like watch not a day, but like a week on a YouTube video on how to improve your content, or it's the one thing that we can always be learning, because your content is what's going to attract your clients, whether that's a blog post or a video. You know, you've got to be they've got to discover you somehow, and the better that content is, whether it's written, video, photo, that's the visibility aspect.
Do you recommend any particular tools, as in obviously you use your phone, but say when you're doing your cloak, do you have like a certain tripod? Do you have something to like?
Yeah, I just have a tripod. It's I used to have a Bluetooth clicker when I was in more of my photos, but my tripod's about £15 on Amazon. My Bluetooth clicker, I think it literally recommended it, is about £3 to go with it. So literally nothing fancy. Don't let any of that hold you back. There is nothing you need in order to just start creating a really nice one. Clean your camera though, like clean the back of your camera or the front of your camera. There's nothing worse than like fuzzy pictures, and it's as simple as that.
I always get icing sugar and like flour.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like
sawdust for me.
Yeah. Thank you. I had another question, but it's gone out of my head now. It'll come back to me. Has anyone else got a question? You must have questions. Oh, I had such a burning one and it's gone.
I've got another one if no one else does. I'd love to know what your kind of week looks like, or what your day in the life looks like, roughly, just to understand where you're spending your time. And yeah. So you're laughing because is that a really hard thing to answer?
No, it's actually not. It is and it's not. So it's not. I've actually got a really structured week because I have such finite time. So obviously got the two kids. I will tell you, like, so Millie, so Monday mornings is completely child free, Wednesdays is completely child free, and so is Friday mornings. The rest of the time I have Millie. So Millie only does 2 mornings, and she's at my mum's on Wednesday. So I have, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thursdays, I just have Millie. So it's kind of like a half day. So what that looks like is Monday is pretty much admin day. So I catch up on work, emails. I will follow up on any pictures that I've sent out or any client work that I need to finish. That's Monday. So what you'll see on a Monday is you might see some projects that have caught up from the weekend, because I don't post on a Sunday. So you might see like leftover projects that I've saved up, or like random content that I sometimes save. So for example, I will create content if I'm out and about and I think, oh, I could save that for like a really like low content day. Tuesdays I have both kids, so it's complete write-off. So what you'll see there is I do engagement content. So I'll put up like this piece of furniture or this piece of furniture, which one, vote on them. So that my audience is doing stuff, but I'm not doing any, it doesn't require any additional effort on my part to show up on stories. Wednesday is what I would say is content creation day, or like project day. So I'll be upcycling a piece of furniture or doing DIY. Thursdays is like my call day. You okay, Liffy? Come here. Quick. Hey, come here. Sorry, just fell over. He's got his t-shirt on backwards.
You're right.
He's okay. Yeah, so again, that's light touch, but I can, like when Millie's playing, I can maybe do a bit of computer work, and then when she naps, a lot of client work. And then Fridays, I have an hour in the morning that I just sit and force myself to do following up with emails. And then I try and do content creation again because it's child free. So yeah, it's kind of like that. Like I try not to work in the evenings because I'm better in the mornings. Like by this point, I can talk, but I can't work like on my laptop. Like I'm no good to anyone. Okay. But I can edit in the evenings as such. So if I was working for a brand and I was like trying to put a video together, I can sit and do that because that's just on my phone, and I'll like spend time engaging with like other accounts in the evenings. But yeah, that's kind of how my day, I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. It sounds cool. So do you plan your, out of interest, do you plan your content? Because I'm always really torn between, I love planning, but I actually also like being really intuitive with content.
Yeah, so half and half. Obviously, like I know my project's coming up, and I kind of like plan content to obviously projects, whether that's me launching, like I'm just coming up to launching something called the mentorship, which is like a mastermind kind of thing, like a 6-month program. And that has been planned because obviously it's a launch. So I'm very strategic about what's coming up about that. If I've got a campaign coming up, you'll notice me drip feeding content for that campaign. So it's not just out of the blue. So like I've got, I'm working with a company called Moda. So I was clearing my deck and then tidying that up. And then suddenly the content came and it's all nice. So, and then obviously, 1 second, Liffy, please. Oh, okay, you're not talking to me. And then, so Tuesdays is planned. I will sit and find the content for Tuesdays, like this or that kind of polls. And then the rest of the time it is a bit like loose as such, but I do have specific content that is planned because I know that I need it. And then I'll always know that obviously when I've done a project, I've got the roundup reel, I've got the photos and things like that. So for me, there is a methodology, but because half of it is about, it's not, I don't show a lot of my life, but I show enough of it, if that makes sense. I made a really conscious decision to draw back from sharing like the kids and stuff like that on there. So if I'm showing my life, it's more showing my life and the little bits of that.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
I remembered my question. When you gave some tips to Kerry just now, and obviously I'm like in a similar industry because I teach pregnant people.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that blogging was one of the best things that she could do to up her profile. When you say blogging, do you mean writing blogs and then being on your website? Do you mean blogging on Instagram? Like what do you mean?
Blogging on your website, but then you can share those blogs to Instagram via stories because you all got the link. Not now, darling. It's really late. Can you go listen to the Ruffalo, please? No. Yeah, there's literal blogging with keywords and things like that, because for you, like Essex, pregnancy, like, you know, your keywords can be really solid so that you can ensure that you would turn up quite high on the ranking as 1 or 2 below the ads.
That's really interesting because I have like 100,000 blogs in my head.
Oh, well, there you go. You're good at writing as well. So for me, like I outsource that now. I have someone that literally watches my reels and then turns that into a blog because I can't. I'm dyslexic, so for me that's like the thing I put off the most. I will sit there and I know I need to produce a blog and I just won't do it. So that was the first. Like I never thought I could outsource. Like literally, I'm very, very like I have to do everything myself. And then I was like, wait a minute, I hate this. And I don't do it. So someone else might as well do it.
No, absolutely. That's really helpful. Sorry. Don't you feel like you can't like tend to Henry? You absolutely can go off and do something for a minute. Of course.
Linda, if it helps, I've actually started working with a writer who understands SEO because I'm big on SEO. And I've commissioned her to write like a series of blogs for me because SEO works. And blogging really drives traffic to your website.
That's so interesting. No, because we've got next month we've got I can't talk. I really can't talk. I've had COVID again this week, and I swear to God, I can't string a sentence together. Anyway, we've got Julia coming in next month, who's amazing at websites and SEO and things. So that's kind of like our focus next month. And actually, that sounds like really aligned, if you like, because I don't know anything about keywords.
Yeah, I can. She could be a speaker in the group. She'd happily come and speak, this lady. So I can send you her details. But she's
amazing.
Coming. She's writing my blogs, and yeah, I know it's a cost, but I know every time I get a blog out, I probably will get work. So
you do what Abby just suggested. You have that, you put them on your website and then you link them onto Instagram.
Yeah, so if I create a blog, one blog, I can turn that into 5 posts quite easily on my Instagram, and just direct then and put the link in, because Instagram can give you the link, and direct it back to my website.
Are you having a party at your house?
Sorry, I think that's my tutor, my son's tutor, trying to leave.
He sounds far too much fun. Thank you, Hero. Anyone else got questions? I keep hogging questions, sorry.
Sorry, I'm really dim. With the blog side of things, so you're writing a blog on your website, and then when you're talking about sharing it to Instagram or something, you're sharing it as a post or what?
Oh, so well, yes, you can do that. You could take, like, say you've done like 5 top tips for whatever it is you do. Then that one tip can become an Instagram post. Tip 2 can be another one. Tip 3 you could turn into a talking reel. But no, what I meant more is, so stories tend to get more engagement than posts. So posts, you'll get about 1 to 3% of your audience see and engage on your posts. It tends to be more like 10% of your audience sees your stories. So stories are far more valuable in terms of reach. But what you can do is like take a screenshot of it, or like the blog cover photo. You can put that on your stories, and then use the link sticker to send them to the URL.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So this is slightly random. I have been putting together a series of say, for example, I've got a guide to positive induction if you're going to be induced. So my plan was to have that as downloads on my website, so you could download this PDF.
Yep, paid.
Well, I was going to ask that too. I don't know. Should we be giving free content, or should we? That's where I get confused, because I can offer advice on so much, and I've got sort of 9 years worth of experience in this.
So what you could do, what you could do is, again, taking that 5 tips, for example, you could have 5 tips for a good to have a good induction, a nice induction, and it could be 5 things. Then you could have, it could almost just be a list with a sentence, or something like that. And then you could have a freebie, like a downloadable that signs people up to your email list. And that could be a bit more in depth. And then what you could do is, like, when they're on your email list and they've clicked through that, then you could have that, like, but here's the full guide, and that's the paid for version. The thing is, most of my products, services, regardless of what you watch, like, so I'm working on an ebook that's like how to upcycle furniture. I took everything I'm going to put in there is on my Instagram if people want to scroll back far enough to watch it. I always say how to clean, how to upcycle, what paint to use, when to use it. So it's just not in an easily to digest. They have to go searching for it. What you're doing is packaging it up really nicely and going, here you go. So don't ever think about over delivering. Kind of in a way here, like, I'm just talking to you, but there's no step-by-step process. Like, so we're just having a chat. Whereas if someone who likes to understand things really logically, me creating basically everything we spoke about tonight and putting it in a document might be really helpful for some people. Or me doing like a webinar where it's really step-by-step would be really helpful. But I've still told you the same information. And
basically, we're all time poor too, aren't we? And scrolling back through someone's account to find stuff, it takes so much more time. And you could buy something for sort of 20 quid.
Yeah.
You'd 100% buy it just to save that time. So yeah. Okay, thank you.
Most things in the world, in fact, probably everything, is out there for free if you've got the time to go find it and do it. When we pay for things, it's exactly that. It's because we want that information. We want to take what someone's learned over the 9 years and have it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Any more burning questions, ladies?
Where do you get started with insights?
Have you ever looked at your insights?
Yes, I don't know what they mean. I have no idea. They give me little up blips that go, yeah, someone looked at it. That's literally.
So in a nutshell, obviously, so how do I like, so if people are liking it, it's because they like the content. If they're commenting on it, it means that you've given them something worth commenting on. Saves means that you've given them something so valuable that they want to refer back to it. So for like Linda, for example, and even you, like if you've put some tips in there that aren't completely relevant for them right in that moment, but they know that one day that will be, saves is really important. And then shares, we can't see how many people are sharing things now because of GDPR in Europe for some reason, but I don't think you can see numbers, but shares are really important as well, because that means someone's thought it was so valuable or funny or relevant that they've sent it to a friend. So that's like basic. But then what the next thing that you need to be looking at is, say you get views, or how much, the best piece of content you've ever got in terms of likes and comments. What did you do in that? You know, was it a photo of you? Were you giving advice? Was it something funny you said or did? Were you giving, you know, was it a really beautiful picture of something? What was it about that piece of content that really resonated with your audience? And then it's try and replicate that. So you've got to really start to understand your own content from a really like outside view. So for example, where I was saying like that minute of me sanding footage, I used to do that. I used to put like the whole time that I time lapse filmed one part of that. Now it's obviously very specific to DIY in my niche, but I don't really show more than a second or two of each step. So 2 seconds of me painting, 2 seconds of me sanding, 2 seconds of me sealing it. No, I want my reel to be as short as possible and to be as snappy as possible. So I learned that from analyzing my analytics, and people were dropping off if anything was longer than a 30-second reel. Yeah.
Abby, could I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
I'm asking my clients to leave me video reviews now. So thanks, Jen, for your review. But sometimes they're about a minute and a half. What's the best way? I uploaded one. She spoke for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was long, but she was saying such.
So I would be using like the app I use, Video Shop, and cutting that down. So where she's saying really specific segments. So like, I loved Hyrule doing this. And then that becomes a bit like, so you might have 5 different stories that you can share. I would upload the full video testimonial to your website, and then you can share the link, like a photo of her, and say, here's the link to the testimonial. But you could have like, you could share those snippets really regularly.
Oh, actually, that's a good idea. I could turn that into a reel, couldn't I? Just to say, because at one point she said, yeah, she was just saying the things like it does convert to sales. She was saying all, but I felt like it was getting lost in this.
Yeah, that's the problem. If people like, you've got to pull out a bit, like you would with a podcast, for example. If anyone does it or listens to them, when people share podcasts on Instagram, they share like a 15-second audio of that really good bit that makes you go, I want to go listen to more of that.
The clickbait.
Yeah. Everything's got to be clickbait.
Yeah.
Right, it's got really dark in it.
Thank you. Yeah, should have come to you before I put it up. But an IGTV's out, right? I know I should know that, but
kind of. IGTV isn't even a thing anymore. It's just video. So there is a place for it, but so video and photo, as in video, not IG, and not IG, not reels. Video and photos will pretty much only reach your current followers. It's very rare for them to be seen outside. Even if you look at your insights, you'll see hashtags probably don't reach what it used to. Reels gives you access to the further world. Stories as well, that's just your current audience. So there's content that you might want to think about producing just for the people who follow you, and that would be your like next step stuff, so your sales stuff, because they are warm leads compared to if you get someone who's fresh off of a reel that's just followed you, then probably not going to buy from you straight away because they don't know you well enough. But so there is a place for creating longer form content, static image content that will appeal to the people that currently follow you. I'm going to turn my light on 1 second.
Right, I'm going to stick on a load of makeup tomorrow and start doing these videos.
Don't need makeup.
I need a good filter.
If you've gone live and you've, you know, talked about something, obviously that then becomes a video. Is it a good idea to then take snippets of that and make it into reels then?
Yeah,
so that because people are not necessarily going to sit back and watch that whole live, but you want to
can save it. You can save it as a video, like IGTV video. It's not IGTV, but you get this. So anyway, because some people might. So for example, when I went live with some of my previous one-to-one clients before selling my course, the people that really wanted to buy that course and were on the edge, they will watch that, because that's, you know, their buying signals. They want to watch that whole thing. They want to feel the whole process. But for the people that are sort of like on the edge and they don't really know, those snippets would be really good. And that's enough to then interest them to watch the full thing. So there's a place for both.
Thank you.
I'm on a roll, sorry. Those voiceovers, Abby, as well. Is that a good thing to do? I've started to see photographers doing that in their posh voices.
Their own voiceovers. Yeah, because the point of that is that other people will use your sound and then it goes viral. Your sound goes viral.
Ah, okay.
So imagine you've done a voiceover and then loads of other photographers start using that sound.
So what the words I... So my words
are
your
words, and then your words become a sound, and that could become a trending audio, and then that brings it's another way of getting traffic.
Okay. Blows my mind. There's always something.
My question is about getting the right followers. So uploading reels is better to reach a wider audience, but I don't need to reach someone who's living in Scotland because my classes are obviously in Chelmsford. So what would you suggest on that? Is it to do with the hashtags you're using?
Hashtags and location tag for you.
Okay. So the bit where it says location, making sure you're clicking on that.
Yeah, and it will also, Instagram's really clever. So like if you are only following people that are in Essex, it will probably start only showing your content to that. So like, for example, if you're starting to comment on loads of like content from America and, you know, like all of that, then Instagram will start being really savvy and thinking, oh, I should show her content to more Americans.
Right.
If you're very local, so for location-based businesses, it's really important that you follow lots of local businesses, even if they're not within your specific niche, because those people might know people that need your services.
Yeah.
And almost literally commenting on their stuff and using the same thing that I said, like you can collaborating with those businesses, even though they're not relevant technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, being very specific in your location strategy.
Okay. And should I be a little bit wider or less? So when it comes up with the locations, because I live in Hatfield Peveril and my classes are in Hatfield Peveril, it's got Hatfield Peveril, but then it's got Chelmsford. Should I go more Chelmsford? Because
you can mix it up. So you could have like one of your posts be Chelmsford, one of them be Hatfield Peveril, one of them be Malden, so that
I'm
reaching people that could get to you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
But if you lose those, Liffy, then you can't build it.
Sorry.
Earlier,
I was going to ask a question and she just
sorry.
Herself.
Go on, you go, Beth.
Yeah, wow. It was more just like a clarification. So hi, that's nice. Are you basically saying that it's okay for me to sack off like still images and just live in reels?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. I'm so happy.
100%. 100%. For like the clarification, my average post could get like low end 1,500 to 3,000 on a reel, well up into like thousands and thousands and thousands. A static image could maybe get 800 likes for me. Like, and I'm only using that as a really bare. That doesn't include reach and stuff like that, but using those basic. So it's like, what's the point?
Okay.
You know, on reels now, you can't, the comments don't sit underneath, they sit almost on the image. Or that's just for me, as in, you know, if you did a static image, the bit underneath, the bit where you write comments and your like own whatever blurb now sits almost in the video, doesn't it?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because it takes up the full page, doesn't it?
Ah, okay. I find that harder to read. Like, you know, trying to read someone's like caption, you're like, yeah.
You're not meant to read the caption, really. The caption's just a bit of like, it's more there. People are watching and scrolling. they're not, so your content needs to be in the video. Your caption
makes sense.
needs to be in the video. It needs to be like overlaid text.
Okay, that's helpful. You also said to Kerry earlier about finding someone who's breastfeeding and then asking to go live with them. I feel like that's really relevant to a lot of people in this group, because we're very much, a lot of people are service based.
Yeah.
How do you find that person? Because obviously, or could it be anybody? Do they need to be an influencer themselves, or could it? Because obviously that's the point, really. You want someone who's got a bigger reach.
Someone that's gotten. So, for example, if someone's just got pregnant, like an influencer's just got pregnant, and they're actively talking about their pregnancy, they're going to have a lot of other mums following them, and those mums might already have children or be getting pregnant, and then so again, it's a bit like going on podcasts, right? Like, I don't know how many of you listen to podcasts, but if there's a guest on the podcast, it might not be relevant to you in that moment, but you remember them if it's a good interview, so you'll come back to them when you need it. And that's what like going live is. So if you can find, so it depends how location based you are, but to be fair, like I really don't, whilst your location strategy does need to be strong, there is only ever benefit from having a bigger audience, because you don't know what can come from having a bigger audience. Whilst you might only have like, I'm taking Hatfield Peveril right now, who's not to say that, you know, you don't get picked up to go on TV and talk about your classes because you've got a bigger audience, just like blowing it out of like huge proportion, but that next level, or someone sees an article you've done or a blog post you've done, and they want to share that on a bigger platform. And then the opportunities that come from that it might not be people coming to your classes, it might be bigger opportunities. That for me, it's just like, I've seen people that have had really local businesses or really small businesses, didn't think they wanted anything or couldn't see what happens next, and it's just gone from strength to strength because the visibility and then the opportunities.
I mean, I'm a locally based professional organizer, but then through my content got approached by Radio 4 to say, well, can you come on and talk about that, which has led to different things off the back of it. Nothing of your scale, but just it's getting in front of different audiences. And actually I've then worked virtually with people that have said, oh, I heard you on Radio 4, that's why I contacted you, not one of the other 400 organisers. So
and it could be something that you end up franchising, and so you can reach different areas, and you wouldn't have thought of doing that before. I mean, the biggest, obviously you must have seen it, but the home edit, they started on Instagram as, well, professional organisers, but they treated it like influencers. The way they created the content was so binge worthy that's how they've ended up with a Netflix show. So like literally they got approached because of Instagram, and they just came at it from a very different angle to a lot of businesses.
What makes binge-worthy content? Like, how do you make binge-worthy content? Like, no one wants to watch me. Like, it's like, what do you do?
But watch content that you so what do you stop scrolling on? What keeps you watching content? Have a look at that and then think, how can I apply that to my content? How can I apply that to my niche? So you've got to start studying your own user habits. Sorry.
No.
But yeah, so like, for example, I watched, whether you love or hate her, but I watched Mrs. Hinch and how she cleaned. And I was like, well, how can I do that? Like with DIY. And I kind of tried to adapt that, because it's like, well, I watched that. Like, I'm watching someone clean their house. Like, how weird is that? So I was like, but why am I watching her? What's she doing? And it was just, she was just being herself and cleaning. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm just gonna be myself and do DIY. And but she was doing it snappy. It's like these montages and things like that, tap to tidy. That's really loud, Biffy. 1 second.
This is like my everyday with work. 3 home educated children, always in my face.
He's doing it because he knows. They sense it. Normally he'd be well asleep by now.
I guess I sort of have another question as well, but I'm like a couple of the other people in the group where I'm based on pregnant people, which is obviously quite a short-term thing. So if you've got something that's a bit more, like, for example, like organizing, sorry Louise, I don't mean to pick on you, but like you can reach people in any part of their life with that. So, you know, there's teenagers that are into that, there's older people that are into that, there's men, there's women, there's like everybody. When it's something that's shorter term. I guess it's about how to move that into like a steadily growing thing, rather than people that are just going to unfollow you as soon as they're not pregnant anymore.
But that's where you have to create content that feels relatable. So for example, the best example I have of this is I do not care about sport or rugby or anything like that. But there was my husband, South African, loves it. But I saw a rugby player doing a like dance like this, and they put an audio over it that was really funny. So I instantly tagged him in it. So I, female, don't like sport, found that content funny and relatable enough to share it with someone who it was relevant with. So if you think about how you create your content, doesn't matter who sees it. It could be a mum, a grandma that knows a pregnant daughter. It could be the husband that knows the pregnant wife. If they can see your real TikTok video and think, oh, I know someone that's relevant for.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense.
But it's got to be. That's where the content's got to be. You've got to be clever with it in a way. It's got to be funny or, captivating with tips or something like that. Something that's like, wow, people need to see that.
Might have to go for information rather than funny. I'm not sure if that entertaining.
But you don't have to be. There's so many sounds and audios now that you can just borrow someone else's and put text over it and make. You don't have. You just have to be able to lip sync and put text over it. Find a funny audio and put a text over it.
Where are we looking for these audios? Like where does one find them?
TikTok. Just if you're scrolling through Instagram and TikTok, you'll hear them. Like you'll start hearing the same ones over and over again, but also that little trending sound, you'll see it. But also if you follow some certain account, like if you find one account, then there'll often be a lip syncing kind of account, and you can just kind of like say, oh, well, they've done that, I'm going to borrow that sound, because you're not copying that sound. You're not copying their account, you're just taking the sound.
How do you take their sound? That sounds really ignorant. I need to go and Google this.
You just tap the sound and then it says use sound.
Oh, right.
You can use it.
You just have to find a 13-year-old, Linda. They're just so good at this. They're so good at it. It's just like, just do it like this.
Lauren's very good at it, isn't she? The wear 'em out lady.
Yeah.
She's always doing like those types. Yeah. I have no idea how she does it, but she's very good at it.
Perfect example of a business acting like an influencer. I interviewed her on my podcast for that exact reason, because she created such hype around her products by just sharing her own process, her launch, that she sold out instantly. And she shares her life like an influencer and the business like an influencer. She was so invested in it. So she's the perfect example of being a product-based business, and watch her content and how she does it. So it's a lot of it. If you don't feel confident creating, it's finding someone that you admire, even if it's not in the same niche, and just watching how they create content and then giving it a go.
Going back to what you were saying about the pregnant ladies, then finding a influencer who's pregnant, then so I'm thinking along the same lines of like finding an influencer that has got children under 5 that would be wanting to come along to storytelling and drama classes.
Yep.
But how do I find that person?
So word of mouth, maybe someone in this group might know an influencer that's local that's got in that situation. That happened a lot. So like I've been to some where I know someone, that was when I was doing the mummy blogging phase, but or hashtags. So looking at hashtags or looking at location. So the easiest way would be looking at location. So looking at Essex, scrolling through the content in the hashtag Essex or location Essex, and then having a look at people that are sharing that kind of content. And once you find one, it becomes a lot easier to find more. So I know that so Twins and Travel is like a friend of mine, and she's a mummy blogger with really young children. She's travel based, so it's not like she's not trying to teach, she's trying to show travel rather than the children, but she's based in Essex, and she might a lot of it is relationship, whether it's offline or online. So if you just started chatting to her, and she might know people that she could say would be really good for you, but it's about building that, you'd follow her and then talk to her for a little while before just follow her and then go, hey, do you know anyone that would work with me? So building up that relationship. And that's the same goes with brands. Like if I want to work with a brand, I wouldn't just DM them and go, hey, we'll fancy a collaboration. I follow them, I talk to them, I engage on their content, and then I'm like, a few weeks later, I'm like, do you have an email address? So everything is relationship based.
Sarah, Anna from Twins and Travels is a friend of mine. She literally lives around the corner.
Yes, she's spoken about you before. That's why I recognise your name. Yes.
Yeah, she's lovely.
There you go. Look.
That's who I went to blog
happened.
on with. So like, who was, it was you that was saying you didn't know about, yeah. So talk to Anna. She's brilliant. Like she'll have loads of like contacts for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vicky's gonna like be friendly with her first though. But yeah, she's a great, because I know she's literally children Essex based. She's a great contact.
Thank you. I feel like we need to wrap this up a little bit and let you go. Does anyone have anything they just want to check or say beforehand? Because we've taken a lot of Abby's time now. You've been amazing. We're like, don't go, Abby. We want to borrow you.
No, thank you for having me.
A huge thank you is what I'd like to say.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
been brilliant.
I
Thank
second
you.
that. Yeah.
Do you want to do a quick pitch to us
Yeah, I was
about
just-
anything you want to sell us? Because we're a very, very warmed up audience here, Abby.
Work with you, or anything like that.
I'm not very good at this stuff. No, so basically, I mean, I obviously have the Vault, which is a load of Instagram tutorials that has been over a year or 2 years of my membership, all packaged up, so you can literally go watch it, binge it if you fancy it. Or one-to-ones. I tend to do one-to-ones more with businesses, because obviously my focus is now a bit more on influencers, but if you want to be an influencer, I have a course. But like I said, I feel like there's I'm not just saying it for the sake of it. So like I have a carpenter, like she's genuinely a carpenter, that is her business. And I have Jade, who's like making jewelry, and they have both now worked as influencers because it is so relatable. So have a think about it. But yeah, I'm obviously the White Thistle, so if you do want to know more, I can obviously send you links and stuff.
Do you want to send us the links? Send me and Jen the links, and we'll share them in the Facebook group as well. So because then people can have a little look. But yeah, don't be shy to pitch, because you know we're all very much we need this stuff. It's so valuable to us. So yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you, Abby, for coming.
Super inspiring, and the Q&A has just been amazing. I love seeing how people have flowed with their questions and things keep coming back, and
that's my favorite thing. Like I can present with a presentation, but I love answering questions, so I know I'm answering the thing that you specifically want to know. So
yeah, super valuable. Thank you.
I am going to go and try and rest.
Yeah, you go. Good night, Henry. Good night.
Little one.
He's gone. Right, see you later, guys.
Okay. Bye, Abby. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, guys.
Wow.
I've got like 3 pages of A4.
So many notes.